Are we live? We are. All right. Hey, we're live. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Today's live class is going to be, I hope, very interesting. If you're watching this later, too bad. You missed it. But you can catch these hopefully every Sunday, sometimes on Tuesday, sometimes on Sunday. I'm trying to make it very regular. I'm really trying my best. Well, today we're going to be talking about a couple of interesting things that I have planned. We'll be talking about presidential elections, how they work, because someone has asked. So I usually pick out questions that people ask earlier in the week, and I then talk about those during the live class. We're going to be talking about how to speak with confidence and find the words that you want to find when you need them. And we're also going to be talking about something related to grammar. And, of course, I will be answering questions. So those of you who are going to be here live, I will be answering your questions. And if you are watching this later, you can join next time and ask your questions live. So that's how it's going to go. By the way, my name is Luke, and it would be awesome if you could hit the like button. Why not? And also subscribe if you enjoy my videos. If you haven't seen my recent videos on Palindrome Day or any of the other videos, make sure you check those out. And anything else? Oh, yeah. There are some links in the description under this video and any of the others. Make sure to check those out. Those are courses, full courses, and there should be a discount coming up pretty soon. There's usually one every month, and you can get those courses at a pretty cheap price. But those are 15-hour courses, between 3 hours and 15 hours. Hey, Luciano is here. Hey, welcome. Good to have you. Is there anything else? Right, so I have been cutting out the sections from the live classes to post as clips for those of you who kind of want to watch them in pieces or maybe didn't make the live class. And so, but I don't want to just post those on this channel. Always having clips come out every single day, it might be confusing. So I have put them on a separate channel. If you are interested in those, you can subscribe to the other channel. It's in the related channels on this one, on the main page. So if you want to check out the clips from previous live classes, you can do that. Dempsey is here. Is that how I say your name? Dempsey? Is it Dempsey? And Raigi from Brazil? Is that how you say? I don't know how to say every name, so if I say it wrong, just yell at me in text, and then that's fine. Karina, I know how to say, so that's good. Hey, welcome, guys. I'm doing this a little later today just because I wanted to experiment with different time zones just to sort of see. Dempsey is in the Philippines. That's cool. That's cool. I was just in the Philippines. Do you guys have any coronavirus over there? Everything okay? I think we have 12 cases of the coronavirus here in the U.S., 12 confirmed cases, which is, I still think, kind of a lot. Hey, Gertie, long time no see. Lolly Lolly's here. Uh-oh. Lolly, I'm gonna be talking about two of your questions today because they're both really good questions. I've prepared actually some slides for them, so we'll be talking about both of those. Glad to have you guys here. I would appreciate if, since you're here, you could hit the like button just because it tells YouTube, hey, there's a live stream going on. There's a live English class happening. Others, come join, come see, come watch, come learn. That's good, right? That's good for everybody. So if you guys have any questions right now, I can answer them quickly, but we're going to get started as soon as I hydrate myself, which is another way to say drink water. That's entertaining, right? Watching me drink water. By the way, I don't know if I've talked about this, but this is the best water bottle ever. I love it so much. It's got a filter inside, and so you don't have to worry about the water being dirty, and that's why I like it. All right, So let's get started. And guys, if I don't get to your questions right away, I will go back. We'll go through them. We'll talk about as many as we can. Don't worry. But when I'm talking about one of the topics with slides, I'm going to try to make it, brief and go through the slides so that it's kind of clear. And then you can ask more questions about that. So let's start with a question from Lolly Lolly that she asked on YouTube, which is, I think, a very important question for what's going on right now. And the question is, it's a very simple question. How do presidential elections work? How do they work? Now, this might seem like a kind of obvious question and a kind of easy one to answer. Well, people vote, and then there's a president, which is true, yes, but it's definitely a little more complicated than that. And it's kind of important to understand a little bit more of the detail involved in electing a president, in choosing a president, especially right now in the United States. I'm an American. There's one going on. We call it the 2020 presidential race. Often when we talk about elections, we say the race, the presidential race. Okay, so how does this work? What happens? All right, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how this works and what happens, how presidents are elected. Everybody knows right now the president of the United States is Donald Trump, right? Everybody knows that. Now, the important thing to sort of center our discussion or our topic is the idea of parties. And there are really two main parties. There are actually many more parties, but there are two main parties in the United States. We have what we call the left, often liberals, and these are typically the Democrats or the Democratic Party. Then we have on the right, the Republicans or the Republican Party. So we have these two parties. Now, usually the presidential race, or in fact, any political race, maybe for a mayor, maybe a governor, whatever, will include the party of the person who's running for that office. In this case, we're talking about the president. You're a Democrat or you're a Republican. And again, you can be in another party, but these are the two main ones. Left, right, blue, red, in fact. And if you're curious about the animals that represent these, the red is an elephant. Republicans are represented by an elephant, and the left represented by a donkey. Okay, now, this is how it goes. Let's say we are in the year 2016. Now, in the year 2016, Barack Obama has finished being president. He has finished his term. You can not be president for more than 8 years. We'll talk more about that in just a second. You can't be president for more than 8 years. So he was president for more than 8 years. Now we need to have a battle between the left and the right, between the Republicans and the Democrats, to decide who's going to be the next president. Could be one or the other. All right. Now, each side will run candidates in their party. Could be an unlimited number. Could be 100, could be 2. Well, it's usually not that many. This time there are many, but in 2016 there were really two main candidates on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and there were, I think it started with 12 main candidates on the Republican side, the red side. One of those people was Donald Trump. Now, each of these sides are in what's called a primary within their party. The process is to find out who is going to be the candidate for their party, within their party. One for the Democrats, one for the Republicans. And then we have what's called a general election. So Hillary Clinton was, in 2016, the candidate for the Democratic Party. And we'll talk about the process of the primaries in a second. Donald Trump was the candidate, became the candidate for the Republican Party. Then they had a general election, and Donald Trump won. He became the president. All right, here we are in 2020. Welcome to the year 2020. Donald Trump has now been president for 4 years. But I thought you said that he could be president for 8 years. Obama was. No, not necessarily. After 4 years, you have to run again. But you run within your party, and usually there are no other candidates running against you if you are the one who's been there for 4 years. So every 4 years, we have to have an election, even if there is a president who hasn't been there for 8 years. Donald Trump has been there for 4 years. Now he needs to try to beat someone on the other side. He has to try to beat a Democrat. Because he is the president for the Republican side, because he's a Republican, no one else is seriously trying to beat him, running against him on the Republican side. Actually, there are 2 guys who are trying, but yeah, we don't really need to talk about that. He has a chance to be the president for 4 more years. These are called terms. Each 4-year section is called a term. 4 years, 4 years. Now, some presidents don't win another term. They lose to the other side. So they only get 1 term. That's 4 years. If they win again, like Obama did, like George W. Bush did, like Bill Clinton did, then they get a second term. Totally, that's 8 years. Okay, so 2 terms is the maximum that a person can serve. Now, back in the 1940s, there was a president named FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He served 3, maybe 4 terms? I can't remember. Maybe 4. Might have been 4. And then they made a rule to say, okay, you can't serve more than 2 terms. we gotta limit the number of terms. So basically, it's like this. You've got Donald Trump, who's just finished 4 years. He now has the chance to do 4 more. If he wins for the Republican side, he will have 2 terms finished. In 2024, we will be in the same situation as 2016, where the Republicans will have candidates and the Democrats will have candidates, and they will each have to choose one person to be their representative, to be their candidate, to run in the general election. That's how it works, okay? So, now that brings us to what's going on right now, okay? The Democrats, the left, they've got to choose somebody. So you probably see all the time on the news these debates happening and these news stories about the different candidates and these elections that are happening. We had the first one last Tuesday. There's another one this Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. Was it last Tuesday or Monday? I think it was Tuesday. What is all this about? This is the process of choosing the candidate on the Democratic side. Very early on, a year ago, candidates started announcing that they would like to run for president. They do it very early. Why? Because they need to raise money, lots and lots of money. Why do they need to raise money? Because they have to hire staff to go around and get people to support them. They have to pay for advertisements on TV and on the internet, right? Facebook advertisements, YouTube advertisements. This costs millions and millions of dollars. Now, some candidates try to get money directly from people, mostly. And so they get people to donate money to them, people who support them. They ask for donations. They'll send out emails. I get emails every day from the candidates I like asking me to donate money. This is how they get money. Some go to rich groups they're called PACs, P-A-C-S, and they collect a bunch of money together to donate to this person, usually a group of people, and they have a lot of money. It's a smaller number of people, though, or a smaller number of, for example, companies. Anyway, they're trying to get as much money as they can so that when it's time to actually choose the person, they have enough support from people to be the nominee for their party. Now, we've just entered a very important period. We've just started what's called the primary season. What are primaries? Well, basically, primaries are the process of figuring out the candidate for this party or this party. So there are the primaries, then the general election. There started out with, I think there was something like 20 candidates at the beginning when they started doing the debates. Now I believe it's down to 8 candidates, okay? And over the next couple of weeks, you will see candidates dropping out of the race because they realize I have no chance to win. Because now is when things really start happening, because we have real people voting. The candidates go to every single state in the United States and do what's called an election, a primary election. Sometimes it's called a caucus. Okay, every state. It always starts in Iowa. It's a state sort of in the north of the United States, near Michigan. Okay, it's going to be in the north. Not many people live there, but it's a very important one. It's the first one. It's called the Iowa Caucus. And it's all over the news, what's been happening with that. Tuesday is the one in the state called New Hampshire. And then, I don't know if it's the next Tuesday or the next one, there's something called Super Tuesday, when they do a bunch of state elections at the same time, on the same day. Many states do their primaries at the same time. People go and vote for the candidate they like best. And this really helps to decide who's maybe going to be the candidate and who is definitely not. So over the next few weeks, you'll see it go from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to maybe 3 or 2 candidates left. By the time we reach maybe June, we'll probably have 2 candidates left running in the Democratic primary. Right now it's more, but over time we will probably have 2, maybe 3. Okay, now you also see debates happening. So they debate on TV, people talk about that on the news, and then there are votes. I live in New York. New York's primary is a little bit later on. I think it's in June. So I won't have a chance to vote for my favorite candidate until June. And I'm pretty sure that my favorite candidate will still be in the race at that point, because I think my favorite candidate has a good chance of winning. So that's how it works. Now, how many votes do you need to get to be the candidate on the Democratic side? How many candidates do you need? Well, it's like this, actually. So you have primaries and caucuses. The difference between a primary and a caucus is that basically a caucus is a different structure. It's very confusing, and it's sort of a process of people raising their hands and moving around. It's really complicated, but basically they're choosing the person they want to support to run in the general election. You need to get what are called delegates, and delegates are given to you when you do well in a state. So at the end of last Tuesday, the winner got 13 delegates. These are basically people who are assigned to you, who are kind of like money, points, who, if you get to a certain amount, make up your qualification to be the nominee. It's a little confusing, a little complicated, but anyway, you need to get 1,990 delegates. And the population of the state will decide how many delegates are in that state. So Iowa has not that many delegates, maybe 40, 50, something like that, maybe in the 40s or 50s. But for example, California has many delegates because it's such a huge state. The population is so big. So there are many, many more delegates that you can win in California. Once you reach 1,990, you've reached a majority. You are the nominee. You are the nominee in the Democratic Party. And you will be the person who will then run in the general election against Donald Trump this time. So it's going to be one Democrat who wins the primaries against Donald Trump, and that's basically how it works. Then we move on to the general election. That happens in November, but then leading up to November, people are voting, and there's a lot of debates. All of that stuff is happening, just like the primaries, except now it's not Democrats against each other. It's one Democrat versus one Republican. And there are other people running for president, too, in smaller parties, but they don't get much attention, honestly. It's really these two. So then in the general election, you have to get 270. If you get 270, then you win the general election and you become the president. Okay? You win the general the general election. That's what Donald Trump did back in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. He got this number. He went over this number. He won. That's it. So now he's the president. And that is basically how it works. And that's what's going on right now. And in Iowa, the reason that everyone was talking about that is because there were some errors in calculating the votes. There was an app that broke, that crashed, that didn't work properly when they were trying to send in the votes. So it's still, even a week later, not clear who won Iowa. There are two people at the top, Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders, and they're at the top. And it's not clear who won. It's not clear who the winner is because they're still trying to figure out how to fix all of the errors and recalculate everything so that it's correct. Anyway, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. The next state, hopefully, will be more clear. We'll have a clear winner. I think it's a very interesting process. And anyway, that is how the elections work. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see my future videos. And don't forget to check out the courses in the links in the description. All right. So let me go back and see if I missed any questions. Let's see. Do you think Trump is doing a good job in the USA? Personally, no, not really. There are some things he does well, but I'm not a big, to be totally honest, I'm not a big Trump supporter, to be completely honest with you. But I think he's funny. I think he's a funny guy. He makes me laugh. Demo left ideas, rep right ideas, liberals and conservatives. That's right. Gertie is right. Exactly. Democrats, left. Conservatives, right. Democrats, blue. Conservatives, red. Democrats, donkey. Conservative, elephant. Liberals and conservatives. Exactly. Exactly. You can't be president for more than 8 years in a row, or you only can be president for 8 years in your lifetime. Can Obama run again? No. You can only be president for 8 years in your lifetime. It's not about in a row. You can only serve 2 terms. 2 terms. In fact, there's an interesting example of this. There was a president, Grover Cleveland, and he ran and became president for 4 years, and then he lost the next one, and then he ran and became president for 4 years again after that. So there was one president in between his 2 terms. Very interesting. Hey, Lolly Lolly, thanks a lot for the super chat. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, I'm going to answer another one of your questions very soon. How does the Electoral College work? Okay, that is... how do Floridians pronounce y'all? Y'all, y'all. Y'all. People from the South will say, hey, y'all, hey, y'all, hey, y'all. Okay, so the Electoral College is like the group of people who are made up of the states that you win. Let's not even say that they're people, though. Let's kind of call them points. The points that you get from the states that you win. And just like with the primaries, states are worth different amounts of, we call them delegates or Electoral College members, or let's just call them points. Can we just call them points? I like to just call them points, even though they're not points. So let's say, I don't know the numbers. I kind of want to search it for a second. Do you guys mind if I search this? I feel kind of stupid searching something, but if I could figure out how many Electoral College votes, for example, New York gets compared to another state. I'm on my computer here. Electoral votes by state. I'm going to search that by state. Let's see here. California 55, New York 29, Florida 29, Illinois 20. So if you win, let's say you win 25 states. Let's say you win 40 states, right? You win 40 states. You're running for president in the election. But all of those states are small rural states, and they don't have that many electoral college electors. They're called electors. Well, then, you could still lose. You could still lose. So it's not about how many states you win. It's how many points you get. That's what it is. And or how many electors that you get. So those states which have huge populations, those are obviously the ones that you really want to win. I might be able to throw this picture up here really quickly, just to show you guys. I actually have this here. I didn't know I could do this in real time. Can I do this? Oh no, I can't do it. Oh no, I thought I could. Well, sorry guys, but I think you get the idea, right? They're worth a certain number of electors each state, and you could potentially even win more votes than the other person. You could get more total votes than the other person and still lose because it's all about the electors. And a perfect example of that is Hillary Clinton. In 2016, Hillary Clinton won more total votes across the United States than Donald Trump did. But Donald Trump won more electors, and so Donald Trump became the president. I think this is 2016. All right, so let me shrink this down a little bit. Here's a map. I know this looks a little ridiculous. Oh, I want to resize it. Can I resize it? Can I resize this, please? How do I resize it? All right, can you guys see this? I got to practice this more. Where's the resize button thing? All right, well, you can see it, right? Even though it's over my stupid face. You can see each state and what each one is worth and what each person got from each state. So Hillary Clinton won here in New York at 29, and Hillary Clinton won California, which is 55. But look, Donald Trump won 36 here because he won Texas. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. I figure I have to how to change the size of that. Wow, McMaster's on the R train now. Get off! The R train is old and smelly. Change. Do you support liberal values? I would say I'm probably more of a liberal than a conservative, but I also don't like when people assume what all of my opinions are based on that, because there are probably things that many liberals think that I disagree with. And so I think more of my opinions tend to be liberal, but I think I also have some views that absolutely disagree with what a lot of liberals think. So I try to have my own opinions, and rather than just say, oh, I'm a liberal, therefore I must believe everything that all other liberals believe. No thanks. How many millions of dollars do they spend in one process? A political candidate will spend hundreds of millions of dollars in the primaries, and then again hundreds of millions of dollars in the general election. It's insane how much money they have to spend. And it's sort of like a race between two countries. They're trying to build more weapons and more guns. It's out of control. I think it's out of control because they need so much money just to get attention and advertisements. I think it would be a good idea to limit how much can be spent so that you can't spend more than X number of dollars. And that would, I think that would make the situation a little better. Right now, it's all about money. All about money. Lucas says, hi, mate. Hello, guy. Jeff Chan says, is it true that Trump was good at economy? I think it depends on how you look at it. The fact is that the stock market is doing pretty well right now, but there are also some problems, like minimum wage is not great, and a lot of people are working 3-4 jobs. That's not so great. Hey, a super chat. Oh, yeah. Nice. So it depends on how you measure it. different people have different views. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you for all your courses and videos. They help me. Oh, yes, you've taken, I think, all of my courses. By the way, guys, if you haven't already checked out my courses, make sure you do that. I think they're all on sale now. If not, they will be they usually do a Valentine's Day sale, which is coming up pretty soon. So check those out for that. The latest course is, I think, my best course. It's 15 and a half hours long, and it's about overall improving your English. It's sort of a master spoken English course and covers a bunch of different topics: grammar, pronunciation. It covers how to express yourself in difficult situations. It's a long one. Thank you so much. All right. Art says, do you think there's any difference between Republicans and Democrats? Aaron Rousseau said they're all controlled by bankers. Yeah, I do think there are differences. I think anytime you say one opinion like, all Democrats and Republicans are the same, they're all just controlled by money. Whoever has the most money can buy them. Well, it's true. It's true that big companies who have a lot of money can absolutely control politicians, Democrats and Republicans. For example, the medical industry. Huge medical or pharmaceutical companies have so much power that they can prevent the government from making any rules to limit, for example, the price of some drugs. So that allows them to. There was one famous example of a drug which went from something like $9 to, I think it was $800 or $900 per pill. In one day, they raised the price. $800. And there were no rules against that. They can do whatever they want. And so why can they do that? Why hasn't the government made any rules to stop them? Well, because the large medical companies put a lot of money into influencing politicians and kind of controlling them a little bit. So they say, hey, we'll give you a little money or take you out to dinner or do something nice, fly you somewhere, and don't how to vote, right? Don't do anything bad for us, all right? Okay, we'll help you get elected, all right? Yeah. So that's often a problem of people who get elected from donations from companies and especially large industries, and then the people that they help get elected then do them a favor. That's true. That's a fact. All right. Now we have another interesting question here. Let me drink some water. We have another interesting question here that I want to talk about. I want to spend a little time talking about it. We're going to talk about a question that we got from someone on YouTube, and it's really about how to find words when you need to. And so I want to give you some simple steps. Obviously, this is a lot bigger. This is a much bigger topic, but at least we can talk about some simple tips for that feeling you get when you're trying to say something and then you can't say it because you can't find the words, right? And I want to say, for those of you who have that feeling, I don't want you to think that that's like that just because you are an English learner. I have a podcast that I do, and when I'm trying to express some very complicated idea that's incredibly complicated, I often have that same feeling. And when I go back and watch the podcast or listen to the podcast, I think, oh, you idiot. You could have used that word or that word or that word. Idiot. Right? So that feeling is common for every one of us. It's not just for English learners. So the important thing is to not be discouraged when you come across a situation where you're in a conversation with someone. You know that there's a word swimming around in your head, but you're not able to grab it. And so you say something simpler, and then later you think of it and you say, oh no, if only I would have said that, right? So let's talk about this one. Why do I forget the words I really want to use? Why can I not, when I need the right word, the perfect word, why can I not grab it exactly when I want to? And it's a very common issue, extremely common. And again, the first thing to remember, really, is to not let yourself be discouraged by it. You really can't let yourself feel like I'm bad or I suck because I can't remember it. Just be patient with yourself, and we're going to talk about some actual things that you can do, some tips that you can do, that you can follow to improve this. So that's the first thing, attitude. Okay, don't be angry at yourself. Don't hate yourself. Everyone experiences this feeling sometimes, okay? The other thing to realize is what I have here on the screen. Knowing and doing are not the same thing. Often there's this idea that when you learn a word, as soon as you learn that word, you know it. And you should always be able to use it automatically because you know it. But that's absolutely not true. If you can understand everything that I say, but you're an English learner, and then you try to say something yourself and it's maybe not quite as accurate or fluent sounding as when I say it, why can you understand me but not quite speak at the same level of fluency? Well, that's because learning something, understanding something, knowing something, that's very different from doing something, right? To do something, you have to practice it a lot. You have to have output. You have to put it into practice. And I learn new words all the time. I do. And when I learn them, there are a couple things that I do so that I can actually use them. I don't just hear them and say, I understand that word, that complicated word. I repeat it. And there are a couple other things that we'll talk about. There's one recently for pronunciation I was trying to learn. There's a classic Indian story. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. That's what it's called. And there's this character in the Bhagavad Gita. He's one of the generals. He's a very powerful, important person in the story. And he's on the opposite side of two armies fighting against each other. And he has a very interesting name. And I heard the name and thought, I want to be able to say that name whenever I want. I want to be able to say it, but it's so weird and complicated and hard to say. So I listened to it 100 times. I wrote it down. I've been saying it for the last few days again and again just so that it comes out smoothly. Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra. I still don't have it perfectly, but at least it's in my memory, right? It's there, and I'm able to bring it out when I need to bring it out, even in a tough situation, like a live lesson talking to people, right? I can at least make it come out of my mouth when I want it to, even if the pronunciation is still not perfect. And that's true for everything that I learn. So how can we do this? What are the things that we need to do? First, you need to know what those words are. What are those words? So create a list. Very simple. If you learn words that you want to use or you hear words that you want to use, write them down in a list. I know that seems very basic and very simple, but it really is very powerful. That's what I do when I hear something and I think, ooh, I want to use that word more. But it's not something that I can immediately bring to mind when I want to, because there's a difference between knowing and using, right? So I write it down in my list. My words list. Yes, I, an English teacher, also have a list of words I'm learning. Yes, absolutely. Not just words that are hard to say from Indian stories. But anyway, so do that. First, write down your words. You have to know what they are. If you don't know what they are, how can you improve them, right? So write them down. Next, for each word, make sentences. And if that word has different meanings, which many words do, write down sentences with each meaning, or maybe each form. Some words, for example, like, let's say it's innovation, right? Well, there's innovation, and then there's innovate, and there's innovator, and those are different words. Well, they're the same basic word, but different forms of that word. So you write down sentences. Write down 3 or 4 sentences for each form of that word. After you learn it in a dictionary, and I've recommended this before, the free dictionary is an awesome dictionary for learning words because you can get examples to really understand it and see how it's used. Then create your sentences, write them down. What are you doing there? You're taking something that was input and you're turning it into output. Input and then output. You're building something with it. That is in your brain creating the structure to be able to make something, to use something that you learned. That's why teachers in school make you do homework. That's why at your job you have to do job training. It's not called sitting in a room listening. It's called job training, which often means you are there doing it, practicing it, and someone is watching you saying, nope, change that, do that a little differently. You're doing it again and again, repetition. So that's very important. And the more you do that, the more you will find that you feel when you're in that situation, the word just pops up into your head and you can use it right away. That's how it feels. And if you want to really practice this and get that feeling of having a conversation, even if you are not having a conversation, then you might try to actually record yourself. So pop open your phone and turn on your recording app, whatever it is. There are lots of good recording apps. I like Otter. That's my favorite one, but there are many. And then start talking about something. Ask yourself a simple question. Ask an open question. Like, what are my goals for the next 2 months? What are my goals for the next 2 months? And then start talking about your goals for the next 2 months. It doesn't really matter what the question is. Hopefully, then, you'll get used to that feeling of speaking on command and putting together sentences and expressing yourself. And hopefully, at some point in what you're saying, you'll be able to fit in that new word and practice actually using it. So the first thing is to do the sentences, practice the sentences, and then start actually using it. Then hopefully in the future, when you're in a conversation, it'll just pop out. You'll be able to grab it. You'll be able to use it automatically, no problem. Okay, so that's the process. There's more involved. The first important thing is to use an all-English dictionary and find examples of usage, but then you have to really start using it as much as you can. And if you do that, I think you will find your ability to use new vocabulary is actually much, much better. Okay? So do that. And again, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already. And if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe so that you can see future videos. All right. Did I miss anything, guys? I'm going to go back through questions I might have missed. Greetings from Nicaragua. Hello. Hello. I would say create a list of sentences to be used in key situations. Well, that helps too. You could create a dialogue. What some people do, I don't do this personally, but what some people do is actually write down a dialogue between two characters. And then you are using it in a situation. Maybe it's a situation where two people are at a meeting and they're trying to explain their idea, make a proposal. One person is the person making the proposal. The other person is the one listening to it and giving feedback. And maybe the words that you're trying to learn are useful in that kind of situation. All right. So write a dialogue down. Then read the dialogue. The reason that I recommend recording after it or recording yourself talking through something or answering a question is that then you can listen back to it. And when you listen back to it, you are able to notice maybe not everything, right? Maybe it's not quite as good as having a class with a native English-speaking teacher who can listen and point out mistakes, but you'll be able to catch things. Well, that's a little weird. I could have said that better. And write down notes. This is going to improve your self-awareness, your ability to be aware of yourself and what you are saying. So this is at least the beginning of the process. And I've seen it work for a lot of students. So try it. Let me know how it works for you. And I look forward to your success and reports of your success. I usually write down words which I am going to use in discussions in a speaking club. That's absolutely great. That's perfect. That's perfect. You're going to give a talk about something. You have a topic prepared. That's the perfect situation to write down those key words. You shouldn't write down everything you're going to say. That's a mistake. The biggest mistake you can make is to write a speech, because then all you're practicing is pronunciation. and your ability to stand up in front of people. That's a mistake. But writing down the key words you want to use and then figuring out how to fit them in as you speak, those are just little reminders of, oh yeah, I need to use that word, I need to use that word. This is good. This is good. Whenever you have a chance to give a presentation in public, avoid writing a speech. Avoid writing it down and memorizing it, because that's not helping you improve your spoken English. That's just reading in your brain. You're just reading in your brain. Instead of looking at a piece of paper, you're reading something that's in your head. Yeah, so that's that. Any other questions, guys, that I can answer before we still have some more stuff to talk about, but I want to make sure I answer any questions that I might have missed. Did I miss anything? I'm thirsty. Sorry for drinking water. I know it's making noise. I should move this away from myself when I drink water. Right. Write down only words which you can forget easily. Yeah, exactly. Or words that you want to make sure that you use. I do that too. When I'm making a video, for example, I don't read a script. I will write down the main words that I want to say and the main ideas that I want to talk about. And then when I'm recording the video, I'll just sometimes glance over at those. And that'll remind me of the main idea, sort of an outline, but also some of the words I want to use. Anderson Duarte says, "Hey, Luke, how's it going?" It's going very well, Anderson. How are you? Glad to hear that. It's great. Yuri says, "Hello, Luke. Mum's the word. What does that mean?" All right. Okay, that's kind of, we can pop that up. Why don't we just pop that up? Sorry to put you on the spot, Yuri, but we'll pop it up. So if you've ever heard anybody say, "Mum's the word," it's an expression. It's a simple expression. And you can't say it any other way because it's an expression. You can't say "mum's a word." You can't say "mum's some words." You can't change anything. Most phrases, common phrases, expressions, idioms are inflexible. You can't really change them around or change the words. But what does this actually mean? Mum's the word. This is when, usually, when someone has told someone else a secret, someone that other people shouldn't know, maybe for a short period of time, and they want to make sure that the other person doesn't tell anybody else, right? That's how it's used. So let's say, for example, Yuri is planning a birthday party for his friend, and I'm friends with his friend too, right? Let's say it's Lolly Lolly's birthday, and Yuri, Lolly Lolly, and I are friends. Lolly Lolly's 21st birthday is coming up. I don't know how old Lolly Lolly is. Whatever. So that's the situation, okay? And Yuri comes to me and says, "Hey, listen, I'm planning a surprise birthday party for Lolly Lolly. It's going to be on Thursday. I'm going to invite her out to a restaurant and say, oh, let's just grab some dinner. And then she's going to be so surprised when she sees all her friends there. I'm inviting 25 people. We're going to have the whole restaurant singing happy birthday and a big sign on the ceiling that says happy birthday, Lolly Lolly. And mum's the word. So it's like an instruction. Don't tell anybody else, because Yuri is the one who's supposed to go around telling people. Because if I start saying, "Hey, did you hear about the surprise party?" and that person didn't hear about it and shouldn't hear about it and knows Lolly Lolly, then they'll tell Lolly Lolly, and poof, the surprise has been ruined, right? I blew it. I blew it means I messed everything up. So after you tell someone a secret and you want to make sure they don't tell anybody else, then you say, "Mum's the word." Now, you might say, okay, why mum's the word? Well, to be mum, one meaning of mum is to keep your mouth closed. Okay, but I don't know why the whole expression is mum's the word. I have no idea. So I know what it means. I know how to use it, but I don't know why it means that. And that's true for a lot of phrases and a lot of idioms. A lot of idioms and phrases, we have them. We don't know where they come from. We don't know why they're there. Why is it this? I don't know. I don't know. Some of them make sense, like let's get the ball rolling. Okay, we can imagine if a ball starts rolling, it means, let's begin. Let's start doing things. We can imagine a ball rolling. All right. But sort of like the classic example, I'm having a ball. Well, actually, that might not be a great example because I do know where that one comes from. But some people might not. Have a ball means have fun. What? Or maybe kick the bucket, which means die. Kick the bucket means die. What? Why? Right? Why? Well, it's not that important why. Sometimes we just have to say, okay, I got it. I'll start. I know how to use it now. That's all that really matters. Okay. And if you want to look these up, you want to find the meaning and find examples, that dictionary that I mentioned, the free dictionary, is a great resource. Click on the idioms tab and you can find a lot of them. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. But don't tell other English learners about it because it's a secret among English teachers. Mum's the word. Mum's the word. Okay. May 16th, it's coming up. It's coming up. So I hope that answers your question, Yuri. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, surprise party. Anderson lives in Rio de Janeiro. Never been there, but I'd love to go. That is a place I would definitely want to visit in the future. That would be awesome. Yarmala says, hey, Luke, can you explain how to use verb pattern grammar? Verb plus verb with ing, and verb plus to plus verb. Let me make sure I understand. For example, like go swimming and go and maybe have to go, right? Like that, right? Something like that. Wow. Well, I will do my best. This is a tough one. This is a tough one, but let me try my best. All right? Let me try my very best. I might have a couple of examples saved on my computer related to this. So let me just check something really quickly first, because I was writing something down related to this recently, and it might be beneficial to have those examples. I can at least give a few. All right. So basically, the idea is. Let me pop up your question. Yarmala's question is: can you explain how to use verb plus verb ing and verb plus to plus verb? Okay, like for example, I enjoy swimming. Okay, I enjoy swimming. Or I like to ski. I like to ski. All right, so let's say those. Now, the first one, if you hear ing used in that way, it's something called a gerund. Now, a gerund is basically a verb because it has a verb, the word is a verb, and then ing. But it's not really a verb. It's really used like a noun. Because, listen to this. If I say, I like swimming, and then I want to say the same thing again, I want to say it stronger. I'll say, I like it. Now listen to that. I like swimming. I like it. What is it? It is for nouns. That's right. Because swimming is a noun. So we're talking about a thing. Now that thing is also, it is an action. It is a verb. But it's grammatically used as a noun because we can replace it with it. We can replace it with it. So it's called a gerund. It's called a gerund. Now, the other one is called an infinitive. Now, an infinitive is when we have to plus a verb. To plus a verb. And it's very similar. Now, often, the thing that determines which one we use is the verb that comes before. So you pay attention to the verb that comes before, and then you either use to plus something, for example, I like to ski, or you use the gerund form. Now, with like, we can say I like skiing, I like to ski, and in that case, both are okay, but that's not always true. For example, we can't say I have stopping. I have stopping. After have, we use the infinitive. I have to stop. I have to stop. I want. Can we say I want knowing? I want knowing. No. I want to know. Infinitive. Infinitive. So we have to pay attention to the verb that comes before. But to be clear, we're not really using it as a verb. We're using it as kind of a noun. Kind of a noun for the infinitives and the gerunds. I prefer. Can we say I prefer making? No. I prefer to make. To make. Okay? If we do a negative, we might say, I don't want. I don't want to hope. I can't say I don't want hoping. I don't want hoping. No, we have to use the infinitive there. Now, what about ones that are gerunds only? We might say something like, I suggest bringing your violin. Bringing. I suggest bringing your violin. So suggest is the main verb of the sentence, and bringing is a gerund. Okay? Can I say, I suggest to bring your violin? Sounds weird. So we have to kind of get a feeling for these case by case based on the verb that comes before. We might say, for example, we believe learning is very important. That's kind of a stupid sentence, but you get the idea. Can we say, we believe to learn is very important? Sounds weird. We believe learning is very important. Can we say, we believe it is very important? Yes. So if you want to ask yourself, hey, is this a gerund? You might say, can I replace it with it? Or sometimes that. Can I replace it with something that could be just a noun? And if you can, it's probably a gerund. Now, the main verb in the sentence can also be ing. Like well, what would be a good example? I'm putting myself on the spot. I'll come up with one later. But we could have a verb that's ing, that is the main verb of the sentence. That's fine. We just have to know if we can replace it with it or another noun or not. He will stop. He will stop working. He will stop working. Stop working. Stop working. Okay. That's the idea. So hopefully that's clear. That's really it. If we want to know the difference, we have to kind of study the whole sentence and try to simplify it and replace pieces of it with simpler things like nouns, like it, and then we got it. Is that clear? Does that make sense, Yarmala? Is that clear? Go to swim. Go swimming. Go to swim. Well, you could say go to swim in some situations. I'm going to swim. My purpose is to swim. So that would be okay. That could be used. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the example I was thinking of earlier. Oh, well, we could say what we're doing right now. I guess if we say I'm running, that is considered to be a verb in the way that it's structured, because we wouldn't say I'm it, right? I'm that. Usually we would consider that to be just a verb in the sentence. It's a little confusing. It's a little complicated, but that's the idea. Try to do something and try doing something. No, those are the same. So Yuri asked, try to do something versus try doing. Those are the same. Good question, though. Very good. Can you explain verb to plus verb how to use gerunds and infinitives? Oh, that's the question I think I just answered. Do native speakers use third and mixed conditionals in spoken English? Third conditionals? I'm afraid I don't know what a third conditional is, to be totally honest with you. I've never heard of that before. It's possible that it's a thing, and I just don't know it. But I will be totally honest, I do not know what a third conditional is. I know what a conditional is, but I don't know what a third conditional is. I'm putting myself on the spot means I've created a situation for myself where I can't, come up with a perfect example when I need one right now. So I say I've put myself on the spot. I've put myself in a situation where I don't have the answers that I'm looking for in my head right now. So I can't remember what it was. I was trying to come up with an example, and I didn't have one. Sorry, everybody. This is live. Anderson says, oh, wait a second. Yeah, Anderson says, hey, Luke, I got a question. Should I learn proper English? An American speaker said this to me. He said, you need to learn proper English because people are going to respect you. Does this make sense? It depends on what he means by proper English, right? I mean, proper English is quite a subjective idea. Subjective means people might have different opinions about what that means. So is what I'm speaking proper English? I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know if it is. It's just how I speak English. But he might be talking about using what some people might consider a lot of slang or lazy English, which can make you sound, in some cases, like you're not careful, like you're not intelligent. Not that people who use a lot of slang are not intelligent, but it's just sometimes seen that way, right? So I'll pop that one up because it's an interesting question. So what is I don't understand this sort of sizing function thing. This is so weird. Why is it so big? I think that all right. Yeah, so in this case, should we use English that is not filled with idioms? Should we use English that is not filled with slang? Should we use lazy English where we're not really worried about completing a full word, saying doing, stuff like that? It depends on the situation. This is my opinion. Take it or leave it. If you want it, if you want to accept my opinion, you're welcome to. I don't want to tell people what to do because it's a personal choice. It's like telling you what kind of clothes to wear, right? Usually my job is to explain something, right? But in this case, it's sort of like I can give you my perspective on it, but I can't tell you what to do because I'm not your mom. So when people are around me, when people are trying to explain something to me, and they do this a lot, like I was like, and use a lot of likes. Americans use a lot of the word like very often. If you didn't see my Joe Rogan video 2 videos ago, check that out. That's about how like can be used. I think if the word like is used too often, it's distracting and tells me that this person doesn't know how to express themselves clearly, doesn't know how to say what they really want to say. Can you just say what you want to say, please, and not use so many thinking words? So, yes, I will, in my mind, judge a native English speaker who uses too many thinking words, especially the word like. I will judge them in my head as a person who is not able to express what they want to express clearly. Yes. And if someone says, all right, now, who are you going to hire? Someone says, would you like to hire this person or this person? Person A doesn't know how to express themselves very clearly, in my opinion, and person B can say exactly what they mean, accurately and clearly, without using a lot of thinking words and sloppy language, and can speak perfectly clearly. That doesn't mean they speak very formally, but that just means they're very clear. I will probably choose the second person, person B. Now, maybe that's my fault, but that's just my view on it, right? That's how I operate. I really care how people speak, especially native English speakers. I understand if non-native English speakers don't do that because it's your second language. Like, I can give you a break for sure, right? No problem. But when when you're a native English speaker, I would expect if you want to communicate with me that you make an effort and express yourself. And now, if someone uses tons of slang, tons of idioms, I might feel the same way. Tons and tons of slang and idioms if it's distracting. Now, we all use slang. We all use idioms. We all say lazy things like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do tomorrow? Gonna? I say that all the time. So, yes, everyone does. But the point is, if it gets to a point where it feels like you're just being lazy and you're not trying hard to be clear, that's the main idea, I think. So, to answer your question, yes, I think people could judge you. It could affect your job prospects. It could affect how people communicate with you. But I also think if you're not a native English speaker, then people will also give you a big break and not really be too worried about it, not be too concerned about it. I'm more speaking about native English speakers. However, while we're here, I would recommend learning how to speak accurately and clearly. So hopefully that answers your question. I see there are more people coming in. So guys, make sure you smash the like button. Smash it. Smash it so that we can let other people know to join the live stream. We still have a little while to go, so we've still got a lot of time left, I think. Smash that like button and subscribe. Why not? Hopefully that answers your question, Anderson. Good one. Let's see. Did I miss any? Lolly Lolly says, you must see this movie and you might see this movie. Oh, well, that's a simple one. Must is to say to someone very strongly, sort of like should. You have to see it. You should see it. You must see it. These are kind of similar expressions. It's to push someone in a way. You have a very strong opinion about it, right? You might see it is much more passive. You might, if you want to give somebody advice, you might try to maybe eat less fried foods, for example. If you want to lose weight, you might try that less. It's much less forceful, much more passive, much more relaxed, much more sort of hands off. Now, would I say to someone, you might see that movie? I wouldn't use might in that way for movies. If I'm talking about me maybe seeing the movie, and I'm talking about a possibility of watching it, then I might say something like, yeah, I might go watch it at 4 p.m. or I might not. I haven't decided yet. It means I'm uncertain. So that's how I usually use the word might about actions. Yeah. All right. What have I missed? Got to catch up, guys. I'm trying to catch up here. Yes, I answered it. Okay, good. Oh, Yuri has already smashed that like button. Spectacular. Splendid. Go ahead and share your examples, Yarmala. Feel free. We can check them for you. I got it. You're screwing yourself by putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Well, yeah, I suppose. I'm not that uncomfortable. I'm not too stressed about it. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, where can I find more, or can you make a lesson about this grammar structure? It is interesting that you mentioned that, Yarmala, because I just finished writing a new course. And the course is going to cover that topic. It's going to cover common mistakes that people make when learning English. It's going to be probably a 3-hour course. So there's going to be a whole course on that kind of thing. And one of the lessons is about gerunds and infinitives. I just don't have the whole thing here, so I don't have all of the examples immediately. I just have the simple explanation that I gave with the examples that I mentioned. But there will be a full course that includes that. Courses upcoming this year, if you want a preview of this. These are the courses that are coming up for the rest of the year. I'm planning to finish 9 more courses this year. The courses coming up are, I have a list here. I have a list. Advanced American English pronunciation. So I have a basic pronunciation course, and I have more of a fluency course. This is going to be higher level pronunciation. That should be about 5 hours. English prepositions. Now, prepositions are a really tough thing for a lot of people to learn. So how to use of and for and from and with and by and across, all of these, because they can be used in so many different ways. This is an extensive course with hundreds of examples to really give you a deep feeling of prepositions. This course will be about 5 hours, and it is coming out in the middle of this year. English writing fundamentals, style, grammar, structure, and more. So this course is coming out later. It's written, it's being filmed in the middle of filming it, and that's coming out. The one I mentioned is the keys to better English, common mistakes and best practices. So better ways to learn and common problems that people have when learning English. We're doing English grammar by example. So in other words, we're going to talk about grammar, but we're not going to focus too much on what's it called, right? This is called this and that is called that. I don't think that's the best way to learn grammar. The best way to learn it is to feel it by example. There's going to be a course on professional writing, and there's also going to be one on pronunciation exercises, so actual exercises that you can do to improve pronunciation. And I am actually working on an English teaching course as well for those of you interested in teaching English to others, how to build classes and things like that. So that's exciting. Got 9 more courses coming out. I'm excited about it. Art says, could you explain this? Living creatures are too complex to have come by chance. This is a difference if I just say living creatures are too complex to come about by chance. Living creatures are too complex to have come about by chance. To have come about by chance. What is the difference? Okay, I'm going to pop this up, guys. What is the difference if we just say living creatures are too complex to come about by chance? Okay, so the difference here, this is kind of a simple one. The second one, too complex to come about by chance, it could be real or not real. We're sort of pushing the idea to hypothetical land, the land of hypotheticals. Just saying anything as complicated as a living creature, there's no way that that could exist in any possible situation. We're not even talking about this world, whatever. It just can't happen by chance. That's not my opinion, but just according to this. The other one, living creatures are too complex to have come about by chance, is saying, here we are. This is the reality. The animals are here. I'm talking about these. It happened. The animals are here. They have come about by chance. It has occurred, right? But we don't believe that it's possible. I don't think that chance could have made this real thing happen. So in the second one, it's hypothetical. In the first one, we're saying, hey, here's the situation. Now let's talk about how this might be impossible. Of course, I don't think it's impossible, but that's the idea. That's the difference between these two. Yeah. Yep. All right, so we have another. I'll get back to your other questions, guys. Oh, thank you. Thanks for the super chats too, guys. I appreciate that. That's so nice. When I get super chats, I feel happy. So I want to get to another topic here that I have planned. This is a question that comes from Lolly Lolly, and it's a grammar question, and I think it is an interesting grammar question. So let's get to it, okay? So Lolly Lolly asks, sip my water. The question is, what is a run-on sentence, and how do I avoid it? Now, when we think of a run-on sentence, often we think of a super duper long sentence that's going on and on and on, and it feels like we're exhausted by reading it. And that could be, but the basic idea of a run-on sentence is a sentence which should have ended or doesn't have the right punctuation to separate it according to grammatical rules. Basically, it's when you have two complete sentences and they're put together in one sentence with no punctuation marks and nothing else. But that's not right. That's a run-on sentence. Okay, so let's just look at a quick example so that we know what we're talking about. That's the best way to do this. My boss is going on a trip. He will be away for 3 weeks. Now look, we have two complete sentences. Actually, my boss is going on a trip. Doop, that's a sentence. He will be away for 3 weeks. Doop, that's a sentence. We could also call these, though, independent clauses. Now, don't worry too much about what that means, but basically an independent clause is something, a piece of grammar, which can be a sentence by itself. Okay, and if we have two of those side by side, and we just stick them together, we have, voila, a run-on sentence. So then you might say, okay, well, just put a comma between them. No, also not right. My boss is going on a trip, comma, he will be away for 3 weeks, is also incorrect. Why is it incorrect? Again, a comma doesn't separate usually two independent clauses, two sentences, basically, two sentences that are by themselves sentences. We don't just put them back to back like that. Okay, that's a kind of run-on sentence. We can call it a comma splice. Okay, don't worry about the names too much. All right, so that's the idea. So what's the right way to handle this? Well, there are a few things that we can do. But basically, as an overview, we need to either change how we write the whole thing, rewrite it, so that the grammar of the whole thing is different, so that we can say all that information in a different structure, or we need to work on our punctuation a bit and choose some different punctuation. Now, the easiest way to fix this is just to take a period and boink, put it at the end of the first one. So we have two sentences, right? And the two sentences would look something like, my boss is going on a trip. He will be away for 3 weeks. Two sentences. Now, this is fine, but if we do this too much, it starts to feel boring because these sentences have very similar grammar, right? And so sometimes we'll want to say this in a slightly more interesting way, and we won't just want to put a period between them. Now, one thing we could do is use what's called a conjunction. And, but, or, nor, these are called conjunctions. Again, don't worry too much about the names, guys. It's called a conjunction. So there you have your comma still, yes, but then you have but or and. My boss is going on a trip, comma, but he should be back in 3 weeks. When someone has asked me when he's going to be back, right? Or someone has asked me what's going on with the boss. We could have and here. My boss is going on a trip, comma, and he should be back in a few weeks. That would be fine. So all we do when we have these two independent clauses, these two separate sentences, these things that can stand by themselves as sentences, is we add a conjunction, and, but, or, nor, and a comma. Or we make them two separate sentences. What we can't do is we can't just have the comma. We need something else, all right? So that's the basic idea. Now, there are better ways to deal with this. We haven't come across yet the best solution. So that's what we need to talk about, because I have a better solution. Okay, my solution would be number 2 here. My boss is going on a 3-week trip. Voila. Look at this beautiful sentence, okay? Instead of saying he will be back in 3 weeks and building all of the grammar around one simple piece of information, why don't we just take 3 weeks and make it into a simple adjective, a 3-week trip? Because, and this is my view and a common view about writing, if you have to make a whole sentence to say one tiny piece of information, you have failed as a writer. You've failed as a writer. Now, once in a while, it's very good to do that because we have something called context. Not context, syntax. Syntax. And we want to have different sentence structures to make our writing interesting, right? But if we do it too much, it's a problem. So often when I see these simple sentences, we put all of this grammar around one very basic idea, 3 weeks. I say, why don't we just make that one adjective, right? Obviously. So that's what we should do there. My boss is going on a 3-week trip is, I think, the best way to say this. But there are alternatives here. Instead of using a comma, we could use what's called a semicolon. My boss is going on a trip. He will be back in 3 weeks. That's correct. That's fine. You can use a semicolon when you want to not use a conjunction. A great way to think of a semicolon, that mark there, is exactly the same as a comma and a conjunction. Comma, conjunction. Take out the comma and the conjunction, put in a semicolon. Problem solved. You don't want to use that too much, though, honestly. If you do that too much, I think it's a bit of a problem. Once in a while is okay. Once in a while. Now, the last one. My boss will be back from his trip in 3 weeks. Now, that's not bad, right? My boss will be back from his trip in 3 weeks. So there we just add a little bit of grammar from his trips. Add a little bit of grandma. You can add some grandma, too, if you want. Add some grandma, add some grammar, put them both together. Why not? So we can just change the structure of the sentence, and all of those are correct, okay? That's the idea. So, again, we want to avoid the run-on sentence. The run-on sentence is just when we put two independent clauses together with nothing between them. We can't just fix that with a comma. We have to fix it in other ways. We have to redo the sentence, change the grammar, or use a semicolon, or use a comma and a conjunction. That's it. All right? So that's how we fix it. That's how we can improve our syntax. Syntax is very, very important in English writing. So, that's it. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you hit the like button. By the way, smash the like button if you enjoy these videos, enjoy these live streams. And don't forget to subscribe and check out my courses in the links in the description. Description. Yeah. All right. I know I missed a lot of questions here. You're welcome, Art. I'm going to just scroll up and see if I can find some questions that I missed. Where can I find more, or can you make a lesson about... Okay, I think I answered that one. I've learned this phrase, big, quite elephant in the room. Make a comment about it. Not big quite, just the elephant in the room, or an elephant in the room. An elephant in the room is the obvious thing that we are all thinking about in an awkward situation that nobody is mentioning, that nobody is saying. And we often say, finally, someone can't stand the awkwardness anymore. Let us address the elephant in the room. Let us address the elephant in the room. John was not invited to this party, and we all agreed that he shouldn't be here. And there he is. Because of what he did. We all didn't want him here. But here he is. The elephant in the room has now been mentioned. Okay? So the awkward thing that previously no one was talking about and everyone feels awkward. That is the elephant in the room. Sarita didn't finish her science project tonight. Is this statement possible in some cases? Sarita didn't finish her science project tonight. Yeah, that's fine. That's a perfect sentence. Yeah. What really confuses students when it comes to grammar are the labels that grammar books and grouped English use. Yes. I totally agree. This is, I think, a very important point. I mentioned I've got a course coming up about grammar. I really, really, really don't want to focus on this is called this and this is called that, and here's, the conjunction and the conditionals and all of that stuff. The only people, native speakers, who know this are people who have to learn it to explain it to students learning English. Most people don't know any of this stuff. I did a video where I went out into Manhattan and asked people basic questions, like I asked Americans in Times Square. Can you tell me what a preposition is? I had to interview 5 people before I found someone who could tell me what a preposition is. Now, that might seem crazy to you English learners, right? But that's the fact. Most Americans don't know anything about grammar. So the focus, why do grammar books focus on that? Why is it that when you get a grammar book, it's only about this is called this and this is called that? Here's 1 or 2 examples, but you need to learn the names, the labels for this. It's crazy. The focus should be on understanding it so that you can use it. The fact is, and this is scientifically proven, the human brain is capable of picking up grammar and learning grammar at any age, naturally. Grammar is programmed basically into our brain structures, into our DNA. There's something that a very famous linguist named Noam Chomsky developed, this idea called universal grammar, that we have these in our brains slots where grammar pieces fit, grammatical pieces can fit according to the culture that we grow up in, according to the language we grow up in. So if you grow up in Spain and you learn about conjugations, or people around you are using conjugations where you change the verb based on the subject, which is what you do in Spanish, right? We learned that in Spanish class. The classic boot. According to the subject, the verb changes. That is something that you don't have to sit down and study. You just pick it up naturally because your brain is placing that into a slot, right? And it's natural. And if you never learn what it's called, then we call it the boot. The conjugation boot when I was in Spanish class and French class too. And I'm sure that a lot of people who speak those languages natively don't even realize that that's that's how we learn it. And there are a lot of things too in English that you guys have to learn, like prepositions or adjectives, whatever it is. And you don't realize that native English speakers probably don't know what that's called. They learned it by example because they're around it, they're immersed in it, and they picked it up naturally. So the focus of learning grammar should be 100% on how do I use this? What does it look like? Show me 9 examples. Let me get a feeling for it. Let me make my own examples. And then once I get a feeling for it and I know how to use it, then that's it. Now, if I learn the word, by the way, the name for this thing, all right, fine, whatever. Is that important, though? Not really. Not really. Not really. So I think that's how to learn grammar. You should learn grammar as much as you can by example, for sure. For sure. Very, very, I think, good point there. Gertie says the right way should be a conjunction. Maybe I missed your question there, Gertie. Was it about the earlier point I mentioned? We have a grammar game in a speaking club, so it is really difficult to make sentences using these labels of grammar rules. Yeah, tell me about it. Crazy. Crazy. Okay. How important is knowing the correct intonation of English to feel confident? That's a good question. So Israel asks, do we need to know intonation? And I think it depends, but there are some basic things that you need. So if you want to sound natural, and if you want to be understood, there are some basic elements of tone, intonation, and stress that have to be there, especially if you want to be clearly understood. Now, some of these things are very simple, so I'll talk about stress first. When we put stress on specific words, that's the word we're focused on, right? If I say, what is she doing here? Well, I'm focusing on the fact that this person is here, and I'm wondering why this person is here. But if I say, what is she doing here? What is she doing here? Then I'm not focused on her as much, or she. I'm not focused on this person. I'm focused on the location. I would expect her to be somewhere else, perhaps, right? And I can change the stress on the words in that sentence to change the meaning of the question each time I say it. That's called stress. And I would say that's very important if you want to be understood. Then the other piece of that is stress on pieces of words, right? And that also is important. If you want to sound natural, you have to get the feeling for stress on words, right? For example, if I say produce, same spelling, P-R-O-D-U-C-E, produce. If you say that wrong, incorrectly, you put the stress on the wrong syllable, the wrong part of the word, you will be misunderstood, perhaps, because produce means fresh fruits and vegetables, and produce means to make something, to create something. Two different meanings. So you have to get the feeling for the stress on the syllables in the words too. That's also very important. Then you have the intonation. Now, this is perhaps less important, but intonation can help you express your emotion, right? If you say, that can get across a feeling, right? Even if it's not a word. So that's why intonation is important. And sometimes it is important for meaning. If you ask a question, if you don't get the intonation right, you could confuse someone. If someone says, ready, ready. Those are two different things. If I say ready, it means, are you ready? Are you ready? Ready? But sometimes we don't say, are you ready? We say, ready? Notice that my voice is going up at the end. But if I say ready, that means I am ready. So it means the answer to the question, are you ready? So it's very important there, knowing the question tone. This isn't right, is it? This isn't right, is it? Well, that's another question, but it's a different kind of question. This is called a tag question, where we make a statement and then we say the negative. This isn't right, is it? Or, this isn't right, is it? What's the difference? Well, if we say, this isn't right, is it? Then I'm confirming something that I'm almost certain is true. This isn't right, is it? I'm almost 100% sure, and all I need is for someone to say, yeah, that's it. But if I say, this isn't right, is it? I'm really wondering what's going on. I'm confused. I'm expressing my confusion, my doubt, my uncertainty. So the intonation there really changes the feeling of the question, the tag question. And there are lots of examples like this. So to answer this question, the answer is yes, intonation is important, both in terms of expressing your feelings and your meaning, and stress is important, especially to communicate what you mean. You have to pay attention to both. You have to develop your ear and your awareness. This is why I am against phonetic symbols to write down the pronunciation of words. I am for developing your hearing, your ability to listen, to hear what people are talking about. I am in favor of this, and I'm not in favor of writing down the pronunciation symbol. I think it's ridiculous, and I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. So that's the answer. Hopefully that answers your question. What does it mean if a girl is bouncy? Sort of like happy and ha 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 ha, bouncy. Happy person with a lot of energy, a very bouncy person. Lots of energy, light, joyful, happy, bouncy. I have an idea for a new video. How many words I know? Approximately, of course. Yeah. I don't even know how to figure out how many words I know, though. I'm not sure. But it could be an interesting idea to do a video about the average vocabulary size of, for example, an average level native English speaker or an advanced English speaker, someone who is really good at speaking and expressing themselves and has a very large vocabulary, or an English learner, and to say, English learners usually on average know 5,000 words, and the average English speaker knows 21,000 words, and an advanced English speaker might know 34 or 50,000 words. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but that could be an interesting idea for a video. I like that. I like it. Online tests, yes. I think online tests are boring. There are so many teachers doing online exam preparation. I feel like the area is covered. And I would almost recommend people go to find other teachers teaching IELTS and TOEFL and all of those other exams. I don't know. I just find it. I know very much about all of them, and I've prepared many students to take IELTS and TOEFL, all of the exams. I know them all. But I find it boring to teach. I don't like it. Have I missed any questions, guys? My throat's getting a little dry. I hope I haven't missed any questions. Just as a quick reminder, guys, if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you could click the button that it looks like this and click it. Click on that because it will let other people know that there's a live class. That would be good. And check out the recent video I did on Palindrome Day. I think it's very interesting. I think a lot of people don't care about Palindrome Day. I think it's very interesting. I made a video called Palindrome Day, and it is about palindromes, which I think are fascinating. Anyway, feel free to check that out. It's my most recent video. Yeah, how many words does an intelligent American know? I don't know the answer. That's a very interesting question. Let me ask. I wonder if Google knows. By the way, guys, do you want to hear something cool? All right, I'll show you. Lovely. Let's do this. Let's learn English with Google. You can, if you use Google Assistant, you can learn English with Google. You can, and I do this. You can ask word definitions. You can ask for examples of words. I'm planning to do a video about how to do this, but you can do this. It's really cool. And you're practicing your speaking and you're listening. You're doing it by back and forth. You can ask interesting questions and get answers. It's really cool. So let's see if we can get an answer to this question. Where's my Google? It's the Google. Where's the Google Assistant? Where's my Google Assistant? Google Assistant. Where's? Oh, there she is. Okay, this is my Google Assistant. Here we go. How many words does the average English speaker know?
20,000 words.
There you go.
According to Bell English, studies have shown that the average English native speaker knows about 20,000 words, with university-educated people knowing around 40,000 words. When actually speaking and with everyday writing.
So there you go. 20,000 words for the average. Someone who's completed university, maybe 40,000. Hey, Google, what does Dharma mean?
According to study.com, Dharma is a word without direct translation, but implies religion, duty, and righteousness. It derives from a Sanskrit root word meaning to uphold or sustain.
How many calories will I burn if I walk for 1 hour?
According to livestrong.com, depending on your weight, the route you take, and your walking speed, you can expect to burn between 148 and 558 calories walking for an hour. A 130-pound person walking on a flat surface at a speed of 3.5 miles per hour burns 224 calories, while they burn 354 calories if walking uphill.
Interesting. Hey, Google, can you please define the word coronation?
Here's a summary from vocabulary.com. A coronation is the ceremony when a new king is officially installed. A coronation is usually quite glitzy and full of pomp. Coronation is derived from the Latin word corona, meaning crown.
Can you please give me some examples of the word embellish in a sentence?
According to sentence examples, your dictionary. Embellish sentence examples. Urban did much to embellish the city. Statues of Luther, Melanchthon and Bugenhagen embellish the town.
Isn't that awesome? So You can obviously get information and do it in a conversational way rather than searching, but you're forcing yourself to kind of have a conversation and express yourself clearly so that Google, which is not that smart, can understand you. But notice that I'm getting word definitions explained to me rather than looking them up, for example, in my original language. I'm getting the words explained to me. Someone is telling me what they mean. And then if I don't understand, I can say, can you please give me some example sentences of the word convenience or whatever word you want to understand better. Then Google can tell you those words in context from a source on the internet that has examples of words. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So I think if you are learning words, one thing that you can do, in addition to looking them up in the dictionary, the free dictionary is a great resource for looking up words with examples and finding related words. In addition to that, in addition to writing down your own examples, practicing making sentences with the words that you're learning in perhaps different forms, convenience, convenient, like that. In addition to that, try doing it in this conversational format. I believe every phone can download this app, Google Assistant, I think. And so use it to try to create a sort of conversational setting for yourself. If you're wondering something, ask the question verbally and listen to the answer. Force yourself to understand the answer. It is also written down there too. It pops up on your phone, the written answer. But if you learn it in a back and forth spoken verbal way, conversationally, that is really how you get information from another human being. I know it's not perfect. I know it's not a real person, but it kind of feels like it because you have to be articulate. You have to say exactly what you mean, right? If you don't say it correctly, she will say, I'm sorry, I don't understand, right? So, for example, if I, let's try this. You're like that? That's right. Oh, she doesn't even recognize me. Usually she'll say something like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Please try again. That was so dumb that it was just sounds, so she assumed it was background noise. This is the idea, though. So if you hear the example, you hear the definition, and you ask back and forth, you're developing your ear, and you're developing a part of your brain that is turned on when you're in a conversation. It's interesting. It's a cool way to practice. It's a new thing. And all you have to do is download Google Assistant. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. I would be very curious to see your results. Very curious. I use it. I really do. I really do. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think about this if you try it out. It's kind of cool. It's not just kind of cool. It's very cool. It's very cool. Xiaoli says, can you please show me how you did it? Again, it's very easy. All you do is you download the app, Google Assistant, and then you hit the speaker button, and then you say something. Hey, Google, how much does an elephant weigh? How much does an elephant weigh?
Elephant species African bush elephant typically has a weight of 13,000 pounds. Asian elephant typically has a weight of 12,000 pounds. Others exist.
There you go. That's the answer. So she can search Wikipedia. She can search web pages. She can search dictionaries. She can search different dictionaries, do calculations. It's pretty interesting. I think it's pretty cool. I usually do my shopping lists and schedule appointments using Google. Yeah. I like it. I like it. All right, guys. I know it's getting late. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer? Otherwise, I think we're going to call it a day. It's been kind of a long class. Hey there, Kasim. Is that right? Is that how to say your name? Any questions? I would like to answer any other questions you might have. Otherwise, we're gonna stop right here. I'll just wait a minute. Take another sip of water. Sure. Yeah, guys, check that out. It'd be cool. I don't think she can answer the more philosophical questions. If she could answer that question, Rolfie, then I'm done. I'm finished. I'm out of a job. She might say, if you say, how can I become a native English speaker? She might say, you should watch Luke's videos. That's the only way. It's the only solution. Who knows? Who knows? All right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions. We're going to be doing this next week, so make sure you submit your questions. You can join the Facebook group. We've got a Facebook group. Just search Cloud English, and there's a Facebook group. You can ask your questions there. You can ask them on YouTube under the comments. Again, it would be awesome if you could hit the like button. I would deeply appreciate that. And subscribe. Check out my courses in the links in the description. And I will certainly look forward to seeing you guys next time. Anderson, how many hours per day should I dedicate to practice listening? Don't look at it like that. Don't say, okay, now it's my listening practice. Make it part of your lifestyle. Don't say, now I will listen. Listen all the time. Create it for yourself as an English learning lifestyle. Does Mr. Trump have a chance of being elected? The answer to that is yes. I think everyone would agree. Donald Trump has a very good chance of being reelected. Probably 50 or 60%. Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. See you next time. Have a good one. Have a great rest of the weekend. Good week. Stay safe. Don't get the coronavirus, please. That would be bad. Bye. Thanks for the super chats.